The girl took off her pants and prepared to pee. The man rushed over right when he saw that. The girl was startled. She picked up the piece of glass from the ground to prepare to fight back. The man reluctantly took off his shoes and threw them at her. Turns out he just wanted to ask her for some urine to drink. In this place, he didn't want to give up any chance to drink water. Finally, the girl understood. After she peed on the shoe, she gave it to him. This place looks like the inside of the vault in the bank. This man has been locked up there for 4 days. On the first day he woke up, he turned his head and saw a dead rat. He found himself locked in a place that looked like the inside of a vault. He looked at the time on his watch and it was 9:32 a.m. on April 1st. Wait, April 1st, isn't it the day of lies? Was that a joke? Max was about to open the iron door but he couldn't open it. Then he took out his phone to call someone but there wasn't any signal. He looked around, there was a locked locker. If someone really wanted to play around with him then there must be a camera. He started walking around looking but he couldn't find it. He began to turn and pee against the wall. But soon he began to regret his actions. The first day ended. When he was about to sleep, a fly flew into his mouth. It has been a day without water so he was extremely thirsty. But then he wanted to pee. Max just had to take off his shoes and pee into them. At this point, he defied everything to drink his own urine. Then he discovered that there was a key on the lights on the ceiling. That was definitely an important clue. Max hurriedly took down the key, but where could he put it? The locker, of course. He walked out slowly to the locker and opened it. On the inside, there was an oxygen tank and a gas tank. In addition, there was a hammer and a chisel. First, he connected 2 tanks together to form a flamethrower. Finally, there was hope. He felt much better. He started to spray the fire on the fire alarm system but after a long while, still, there was no water falling down. Then he started burning the iron door with fire again, but the door was unharmed. Max felt desperate. He began to vent his anger on the locker and he even dropped the smoke detector from the ceiling. It turns out there was no water inside. Max felt himself being played. He began to regain consciousness and carefully analyzed the situation. Currently, he has no water, no food, and doesn't know how to get out. After all, who was playing him and what was their purpose? Suddenly he discovered a small hole in the wall. That was definitely also a clue. Max started chiseling the wall, but it was really laborious. To be able to continue, he had to inhale oxygen from the tank and eat maggots from the dead rat. When he had chiseled to the iron core, he used a flamethrower to let it melt. All of his plans seemed to have been manipulated. Finally, he got a hole that was big enough to go through the other side. On the other side was still a closed room with an iron door that couldn't be opened. He looked around and saw a coffin. Inside it was a woman. He was checking when she suddenly jumped up and panicked, thinking that Max was a bad guy. Max and the girl didn't speak the same language so communicating with each other was difficult for them. When she became aware of the problem, she took the initiative to find Max to ask him to cut the wall. But then, Max had lost all of his strength. He taught her how to chisel. When the girl was about to pee, Max stopped her in time. After he explained it to her, she understood the appreciation of water in this place. In this situation, the girl accepted to throw away her dignity. The two of them split up to drink all of that urine. Max even ate up all of the maggots on the rat's corpse to get more power to chisel the wall. Although the two did not understand what each other said, the atmosphere between them was very happy. At this moment, the iron door opened a bit. But when they turned, it stopped moving. They discovered that the door would open when both of them turned their backs to it. Max and the girl tried to step back and they successfully got to the room across the door. The other side was also a room. They didn't know who opened that door for them. In this room, there was also a tomb. They then tried to turn their backs on the door and chiseled the wall like before, but it didn't work. The door did not open this time. Max's body was at its limit. He really needed water. Suddenly he looked at the girl in a very frightening way. He thought maybe people wanted him to eat her. But he couldn't do that. He fell in love with the girl who was in the same situation as him. He would rather die. Max closed his eyes and was about to let go. The girl slapped him hard in the face to keep him awake. Then she picked him up and tried to use her tears to put in his mouth to help, but Max still didn't wake up. Finally, she picked up Max's shirt. He also understood what she meant. The two of them decided to have one last fun before dying, then both fell into a coma. Not knowing how long the time had passed, they were awakened by the sound of the door opening. The two of them tried their best to head towards the door. After the door opened, they were shocked to see the scene. Behind the door was a very beautiful forest. It was completely different from the cold concrete room behind them. It felt like what they saw did not exist in reality. Someone said, "From the coffin and the tombstone, we can guess that the girl was in fact dead." And those stories that followed only happened in Max's imagination. The lack of oxygen, lack of water, and food made his body exhausted and his mind became paranoid.